Hello and welcome. Let's begin with China's concerns fuel Indian cobalt raise in disputed seas. Greek-owned tanker likely sank a week after Houthi strike. Putin visits North Korea for the first time since 2000. Taiwan to buy over 1,000 armed drones in U.S. arms sales, and U.S. soldiers get nearly 4 years in Russia penal colony. India is struggling to secure rights to explore a cobalt-rich underwater mountain in the middle of the Indian Ocean, but its bid has come up against opposing claims at a time when Sri Lanka too is looking to mine the region for precious minerals. Indian officials and analysts said, according to reports, the urgency behind India's application comes from fears over China's presence in the Indian Ocean at a time when the world's second-largest economy already dominates the world cobalt supply chain. Cobalt is a critical mineral broadly used in electric vehicles and batteries and is seen as an important element in the green energy transition. India had approached the Jamaican-based International Seabed Authority in January seeking approval to explore the cobalt-rich Alfana Nikitan Seamount, which is in the central Indian Ocean east of the Maldives and about 1,350 kilometers, 850 miles from the Indian coast. Created in 1994, the ISA is an autonomous international organization mandated by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea to regulate economic activity on the seabed. India also paid a $500,000 fee to the ISA to consider its application, in which it spelled out its aspiration to conduct extensive geophysical, geological, biological, oceanographic, and environmental studies in the proposed area over 15 years. The seamount consists of 150 blocks spread over 3,000 square kilometers, 1,158 square miles. But while evaluating India's application, the ISA found that Alfana Nikitan Seamount lies wholly within an area also claimed by another country as lying within the boundaries of its international continental shelf, according to a note shared by the organization. Though the ISA did not name this other country in its response to India, experts believe Sri Lanka is the nation the Seabed Authority was referring to. A country's continental shelf is the edge of its landmass beneath the ocean. The Seabed Authority sought a response from India to its finding of the competing territorial claims, according to a note shared by ISA. But on March 12th, India said it will not be able to respond in time for the ISA to consider its comments during the ISA's 29th session of the Legal and Technical Commission, which is considering the application. As a result, the ISA note states that India's application has been put on hold. The ISA is anticipated to review the application again once India responds. A coal carrier, the Greek-owned Tutor, has reportedly sunk in the Red Sea a week after it came under attack from Yemen's Houthis. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations (UKMTO), which monitors and tracks commercial shipping for owners and the military in the critical waterway, said in an update on Tuesday that debris and oil has been sighted around the vessel's last known location, advising other ships to maintain caution in the area. On June 12th, the Tutor was hit by missiles on an explosive-laden remote control boat off the Red Sea port of Hodeidah and had been taken in water, according to earlier reports from UKMTO, the Houthis, and other sources. One crew member believed to have been in the engine room at the time of the attacks remains missing. If confirmed, the Tutor will be the second ship sunk by the Houthis after the UK-owned Rubimar, which was carrying over 41,000 tons of fertilizer, went down on March 2nd, about 2 weeks after being hit by Houthi missiles. The Houthis, who are locked in a war with Saudi Arabian-led coalition after removing Yemen's internationally recognized government from Sana'a in 2014, have been attacking vessels with alleged Israeli connections in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden since November 2023. They say the action is in solidarity with the Palestinians over Israel's war on Gaza, in which no less than 37,372 people have been killed. The Houthis last week also extremely destroyed the Palo-flagged Ukrainian-owned and Polish-operated Verbena, which was loaded with timber on its way from Malaysia to Italy. The Verbena's crew abandoned the ship when they were unable to contain the fire stoked by the attacks and is now drifting in the Gulf of Aden and vulnerable to sinking or further assaults. Since November, the Houthis have also seized another vessel and killed 3 merchant sailors in separate attacks. The attacks have interrupted world trade as ship owners reroute their vessels away from the Suez Canal to longer routes around Africa's southern tip, adding as many as 3,500 nautical miles, that's 6,500 kilometers, to their journey. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un have started formal discussions in Pyongyang. On Wednesday, Putin arrived in the city before dawn in his first visit to the country in 24 years. Kim was at the airport to greet him, and the two leaders traveled together to Kumsansan State Guest House in a grand motorcade. The visit is at Kim's invitation and follows the two men's discussions last September at the Vostochny Cosmodrome in eastern Russia. Russia and North Korea have strengthened their relationship since Moscow started its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The United States and South Korea say Pyongyang has been providing weapons to Russia to use in Ukraine in exchange for technological expertise to boost weapons development as Kim modernizes his country's military. Kim Jong-un, North Korean leader, waits in the darkness at the airport in Pyongyang with honor guards taking part in the ceremony to welcome Putin, whose plane touched down in the early hours of the morning. In a letter published in North Korea's Rodong Sinmun the day before his visit, Putin pledged to develop new forms of trade and cooperation between the two countries and resist illegitimate unilateral restrictions. Earlier, reports described the two leaders' meeting as a historic event that showed the invisibility and durability of the friendship and unity between North Korea and Russia. The two countries' relations had emerged as a strong strategic fortress for preserving international justice, peace and security, and an engine for accelerating the building of a new multipolar world. It added, Putin is being accompanied by several top officials, including Defense Minister Andrei Bulozov, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and Deputy Prime Minister Denis Muntrorov. His foreign policy advisor, Yuri Ushakov, said many documents will be signed during the visit, possibly including an agreement on a comprehensive strategic partnership. The visit includes a gala concert, a state reception, and the laying of a wreath at the Liberation Monument dedicated to the Red Army soldiers who helped liberate Korea during World War II, according to reports. The United States has approved the $360 million sale of over 1,000 small armed drones to Taiwan as the self-ruled island claimed by China targets to boost its asymmetrical warfare abilities with an eye on successful tactics used on the battlefield in Ukraine. According to a release from the U.S. Defense Secretary Cooperation Agency DSCA on Tuesday, Taiwan will receive 720 Switchblade missiles and accompanying fire control systems worth $60.2 million. The U.S. will also provide Taiwan with up to 291 Altius 600 million loitering munitions and supporting components with a price tag of $300 million, the DSCA said. The proposed sale comes as China surges military pressure on Taiwan with broad military drills around it and almost daily warplane flights near the island. China's ruling Communist Party claims Democratic Taiwan as its own, despite never having controlled it, and has promised to reunify with the island by force if needed. Under the Taiwan Relations Act, Washington is legally required to provide the island with the means to defend itself, and it supplies Taipei with defensive weaponry. But the arms sales have drawn heated rebukes from Beijing. Chinese Defense Minister Admiral Dong Zhong, in a speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue Defense Summit in Singapore earlier this month, slammed into external interfering forces for selling arms and having illegal official contacts with Taiwan, in an apparent reference to the United States. The Switchblade, which looks like a small fixed-wing drone, is an inexpensive, lightweight, precision-guided missile that can be launched from a variety of platforms within 2 minutes, stay aloft for 20 minutes, and with a range of 30 kilometers, 18.6 miles. Manufacturer Aerovironment says it has performed well in Ukraine's defense of Russia's ongoing invasion. Company CEO Wahid Nawabi said in April post on Aerovironment's website, "We have been gratified by overwhelming user feedback and demand for additional systems." Meanwhile, the larger Altios 600M can carry multiple seeker and warhead options while being launched from land, air, and sea platforms, manufacturer Anduril says on its website. Both drones can also be used for reconnaissance. Taiwan's presidential office thanked the U.S. for its security commitment in a statement on Wednesday, adding that this was the Biden administration's 15th weapon sale to the island since 2021. Still ahead, on Wednesday, reports say a Russian court sentenced a U.S. soldier to 3 years and 9 months in a penal colony on charges of theft and threatened murder. Staff Sergeant Gordon Black was apprehended in May on charges of theft in the far eastern city of Vladivostok, where he had journeyed to visit a woman believed to be his girlfriend. He was accused of stealing 10,000 rubles, roughly $112, from her when he visited Russia in April after meeting her in South Korea, report previously said. Black was also accused of assaulting the woman during a quarrel. The U.S. soldier did not admit to charges of threatening to kill the woman, but partly admitted guilt to theft charges. Black will appeal the sentence handed down by the court in Vladivostok, his lawyer said on Wednesday, according to reports. Speaking to the Pervomysky District Court on Monday, Black said he took the money from the woman's purse, but the next day transferred $125 to her. He said he spent the money on food and 3 nights in a hotel. He also said the woman was to collect a deposit of 10,000 rubles from the landlord after the end of the lease of the apartment for which he was paying. On Monday, the woman spoke also in court, saying she was not yet ready to reconcile with Black since the damage had not yet been compensated. Black's sentencing comes against the backdrop of rising tensions between Washington and Moscow as Russia's invasion of Ukraine rages on. Several Americans are being held in Russia, including 2 who have been declared as wrongfully detained by the U.S. State Department, former Marine Paul Whelan and Wall Street Journal reporter Ivan Gershkovich. The White House has earlier alleged that the Kremlin is using Gershkovich, the first American reporter detained in Russia on allegations of spying since the Cold War, as a geopolitical hostage. The U.S. government has continually cautioned American citizens not to travel to Russia. Meanwhile, on more stories, Ecuador holds visa waivers for Chinese over migration issues. Ecuador is provisionally pausing a visa waiver agreement with China, citing evidence of lopsided migration flows of Chinese citizens through the small South American country. Tuesday's statement from the Ecuadorian Foreign Ministry said around half of Chinese citizens who entered the country in recent months did not leave through regular routes or within the 90 days they were permitted to stay. The ministry also added that people in those cases either remain in the country in an irregular migration situation or have left through irregular routes to other destinations in the hemisphere. The South American nation is often considered the opening point of a long land journey that Chinese migrants take to reach the U.S., what is known as Zhujiang, or taking the walking route. According to previous reports on the cottage industry of businesses that caters to the border bound in Quito, beginning with airport pickups to arranging stays at Chinese-run hotels and organizing the journey north, often for a hefty fee. According to data from the National Statistics Institute, in 2023, Ecuador documented 48,981 entries by Chinese nationals and almost 24,240 exits, leaving a difference of 24,141, the highest number of any nationality. By contrast, Ecuador documented around 13,000 Chinese nationals entering in 2022. Ecuador said it is committed to the security of visitors to stop them from being victims of human trafficking, as well as guaranteeing adequate national immigration control. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian, when asked about Ecuador's decision to suspend visa waivers, she said, since the China-Ecuador Mutual Visa Exemption Agreement came into effect in August 2016, it has played a positive role in bilateral personal exchanges and practical cooperation in various fields. Lin added that China firmly opposes any form of smuggling activities and that its law enforcement agencies have vigorously cracked down on crimes that obstruct border management. U.S. allies debate Ukraine's NATO commitment ahead of summit. According to multiple U.S. and European sources familiar with the discussions, the United States and several major allies, including the United Kingdom, are actively debating how strongly it commits to Ukraine's NATO membership at the alliance's upcoming 75th anniversary summit in Washington, with the U.S. facing criticism from a variety of European countries for not being willing to go as far as several, particularly those close to Russia's border, would like. US and German officials have proposed that the alliance promise during next month's summit that Ukraine has a bridge to NATO membership rather than a irreversible path, as NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said in April in language that is favored by UK and numerous Eastern and Central European nations. Multiple sources familiar with the discussions said, according to report. The eventual language issued by the alliance about Ukraine during July's summit in Washington is vital. It will be painstakingly debated by the allies in the days leading up and then heavily scrutinized, as it will outline the war Russia in specific, what the goals are for Ukraine within NATO. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said at the NATO Foreign Ministerial in Prague in late May that at the Washington summit will be taking concrete steps to bring Ukraine closer to NATO and ensure that there's a bridge to membership, a bridge that's strong and well lit. A senior U.S. official said Biden administration officials do not think the word irreversible will get the backing of the whole alliance, pointing in specific to Hungary as a likely holdout. The official said the U.S. believes they are close to a resolution with allies on the language but declined to preview the decision. Some NATO members are also unwilling rather, to use the word because Ukraine has yet to implement all of the required democratic and anti-corruption reforms necessary for membership, a separate U.S. official said. With the summit about a month away, the topic remains a focal point of tension in ongoing conversations. Most Central European countries are disappointed by the Biden administration's ambiguity and procrastination when it comes to outlining a concrete pathway forward for Ukraine, a Central European diplomat said. Now I'll take a quick break, and when I come back, I'll bring you more stories from Nigeria. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. Now we begin with Rivers tension. Fubara Council chairs clash over tenure. Yesterday, the political tension in Rivers State raised a note following the resistance of some local council chairmen to Governor Similayo Fubara's dissolution of the council's political leadership on the expiration of their 3-year tenure of office. 21 of the 23 outgone local council bosses, however, have maintained that they will not hand over to the top civil servants in the councils, as the governor had directed, triggering some tension in the state. Following developments in Rivers State in the last 48 hours, Governor Fubara on Tuesday summoned an emergency State Security Council meeting, which was attended by heads of all the security agencies in the state. The meeting was held behind closed doors at the government house in Port Harcourt yesterday. According to reports, after the meeting, Governor Fubara said the talks with the security heads centered on strategies to contain the invasion of local government secretariats. Fubara gave assurance that he will fearlessly lead the way to make sure peace continues to prevail in the state, while also protecting all patriotic supporters who they stand on the side of truth. The governor emphasized that no ground plan to arrest his supporters on trumped-up charges will be tolerated, just as he insisted that there is no extension of tenure for elected local government chairmen. The law is unambiguous about it, and the court has also affirmed the position of the law, according to him. Now, LP Atiku countered Tinubu's remarks on poverty. The Labour Party LP has stated dissatisfaction with President Bola Tinubu's recent remarks, describing them as a mockery of Nigeria's impoverished population. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Obiora Ifor, expressed discontent, according to a report. He emphasized that President Tinubu was elected to alleviate poverty, not exacerbate it, criticizing the administration's policy for increasing economic hardship since assuming office over a year ago. Similarly, ex-Vice President Atiku Abubakar, speaking through his special advisor Paul Ibe, echoed condemnations of Tinubu's administration. He cited an African proverb suggesting that leadership sets the tone for governance. Labour Party and Atiku's camp highlighted the urgency for effective policies prioritizing economic productivity and alleviating poverty rather than worsening it. And finally, on the news, Tinubu urges Nigerians to embrace new value system. President Bola Tinubu has said it was vital for Nigerians to have a change of value system if the nation was to make progress. This came as he condemned the prevalence of vandalization of rail tracks, stealing of electric cables and smuggling, describing such as sabotage. According to a release by Ajuri Ngalale, his spokesperson, the president made this comment on Monday evening when he received a delegation from the National Assembly that came to felicitate him on the occasion of Eid el-Kabir. The delegation, led by the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, included the Deputy Senate President, Senator Jibrin Barrow, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, amongst others. He challenged citizens to have a change of mindset about Nigeria if the nation was to overcome its present challenges. The President lauded the leadership of the National Assembly for the support extended to his administration, which has resulted in some of the major developments recorded by his administration. Acknowledging the challenges and the tasks ahead, he assured the nation of his unwavering determination to turn things around. Another look at the top stories. China's concerns fuel Indian cobalt race in disputed seas. Greek-owned tanker likely sank a week after Houthi strike. Putin visits North Korea for the first time since 2000. Taiwan to buy over 1,000 armed drones in new U.S. arms sales. And U.S. soldiers get nearly 4 years in Russian penal colony. That's all on the news. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.